The rain came down like the sky had split open. Jack Rivers gripped the wheel of his beat-up Ford F-150,
Still
knuckles,
awake
white
back there?
shoulders
Yeah,
aching from
it's
10
raining
straight
hard.
hours,
Don't worry, we'll
pulling
be home
wire
soon.
through concrete
Dad.
walls in some overpriced
It's over. Hand her over
condo in
now.
Buckhead.
Not a chance.
The
They're
kind of
getting
place where
closer.
people dropped
Last
$8
warning!
million
Bring
on
it!
a penthouse and never thought twice about the men who made the lights turn on. The wipers couldn't keep up. Every swipe just smeared the water thinner before the next sheet hit. His dashboard clock blinked 11:42 p.m. in pale green. Another late shift. His back throbbed. His fingers were stiff from gripping pliers all day, from wrestling Romex through studs that fought him every inch. But the check would clear Friday, and that meant Emma's school supplies were covered for another month. That was all that mattered. From the back seat came a small voice thick with sleep. "Daddy, I'm tired." He glanced in the rearview mirror. Emma sat buckled in her booster seat, her Hello Kitty backpack wedged beside her. Daisy, the stuffed rabbit, pressed against her chest. 7 years old and still fighting bedtime like it was a personal enemy. "I know, baby girl. Almost home." "You said that 10 minutes ago." He couldn't help the smile. "This time I mean it." The truth was, he'd been saying it for longer than 10 minutes. Traffic had been hell coming out of Midtown, and now the rain made everything worse. He turned onto Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, heading into West End, the kind of quiet that made you drive a little slower, look a little harder at dark corners. Streetlights cast long shadows through the downpour. Then his headlights caught something, a figure stumbling into the road. "Daddy, I see her." The woman lurched into the beam of his headlights, one arm wrapped around her ribs, the other reaching out for something that wasn't there. Her white blazer was streaked with dark stains. Blonde hair hung in wet tangles across her face. She took 2 more steps, then her legs gave out. She hit the pavement hard, the sound lost in the rain. "Oh my God!" Jack slammed the brakes. The truck skidded, stopping just feet from her crumpled body. Rubber screamed against wet asphalt. Emma's startled cry cut through the cab. "Stay in the truck, Zoe." His voice came out sharp, controlled, the way it used to in Helmand Province, when everything went sideways and you had maybe 3 seconds to make the call that kept your squad breathing. He threw the door open and ran. Rain soaked through his flannel shirt in seconds. His boots splashed through puddles as he reached her. She was on her side, gasping hands clawing weakly at the ground, blood mixed with rainwater streaming from a gash on her forehead, her right ankle bent at an angle that made his stomach turn. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Her head turned toward him, blue eyes wide and terrified, glassy with pain. She tried to speak, but only a broken whisper came out. "Please. I'm not going to hurt you." Jack crouched down, keeping his hands where she could see them. Old instincts from his corpsman days kicked in fast. Assess. Stabilize. Secure. "My name's Jack. I'm going to help you." "Okay." She flinched when he moved closer, her whole body tensing like she expected a blow. "It's okay. I'm not going to touch you unless you say I can. But you're hurt bad. Can you tell me what happened?" Her lips trembled. Blood trickled from the gash on her forehead, running down into her eyes. Her ankle was definitely broken, the kind of break that needed a hospital needed it now. "He's coming." The words barely made it past her teeth. "They're coming for me." "Who's coming?" Before she could answer, headlights flared behind them. Jack turned. A black Mercedes SUV rolled to a stop 30 feet away. The engine idled. Then 3 doors opened at once. 2 men in dark suits stepped out first. Big guys, the kind who got paid not to ask questions. Then came the third man. Taller charcoal suit that probably cost more than Jack's truck hair, slicked back face sharp and cold. He walked forward with the easy confidence of someone who'd never once been told no. "Step away from her." His voice was smooth, controlled, dangerous in the way a loaded gun was dangerous even when nobody's finger was on the trigger. Jack didn't move. "She's injured. She needs help." "That's my fiancé. This is a private matter." The man gestured dismissively at Jack, at the truck, at the flannel shirt and steel-toed boots, at everything Jack was. "And you are nobody." The woman behind Jack shook her head, eyes squeezed shut, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. She didn't say anything, but she didn't need to. Jack had seen that look before. Baghdad, Fallujah, people who'd been hunted. Doesn't look like she wants to go with you. The man stepped closer. Something ugly moved behind his eyes. You know what your problem is. You're making judgments about situations you don't understand. This is a private family matter. He nodded once, barely perceptible. The two suits moved forward. Sir. The first one's voice came out flat professional. You need to step aside. Not happening. Last warning. Jack had maybe half a second to read the situation. The first suit was already shifting his weight, telegraphing the move before he made it. When the man lunged, Jack sidestepped muscle memory from a dozen street fights in Detroit and hand-to-hand drills at Paris Island taking over. He drove his elbow hard into the man's ribs. The suit grunted, stumbled back 3 steps. The second one came in fast, swinging wild. Jack ducked under the punch, pivoted, and swept the man's legs out from under him. He went down heavy, splashing into a puddle. The air exploded out of his lungs. The first suit recovered, charging again. This time, Jack met him head-on. He caught the man's wrist mid-swing, twisted it sharply, counterclockwise, felt the joint strain and shoved him backward into the side of the Mercedes. The man's head bounced off the door with a dull thunk. He slid down, dazed. The second suit scrambled to his feet, breathing hard rage burning in his eyes. He rushed Jack like a linebacker. Jack shifted his weight at the last second, used the guy's own momentum against him. The suit's feet left the ground. He hit the asphalt hard, flat on his back. This time he didn't get up. Jack straightened, chest heaving, rain dripping from his hair. His knuckles throbbed where they'd connected with bone. His shoulder ached where one of them had clipped him, but he was still standing. The man in the expensive suit stood frozen. For the first time, the mask of control slipped clean off his face. He stared at Jack, really looked at him, and his eyes landed on Jack's left forearm. The tattoo, eagle, globe, and anchor. You're a Marine. The words came out slowly, like he was just now understanding what kind of mistake he'd made. Jack said nothing. The man's jaw clenched. His hands balled into fists at his sides, but he didn't step forward. He looked at his 2 men, one slumped against the car, the other flat on his back in the rain, then back at Jack. Pure hatred burned in his eyes. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. His voice shook with barely controlled rage. You think this is over. You think you can just walk away. I will bury you. I'll destroy everything you have, your job, your home, your... His eyes flicked toward the truck, toward the window where Emma's small face was pressed against the glass. Jack's expression went cold. Something dangerous entered his voice that hadn't been there before. Finish that sentence. I dare you. The man's mouth snapped shut. For a long moment they stood there in the rain, 2 men staring each other down. Then the man turned sharply on his heel. Get up, he barked at his men. We're leaving. The 2 suits dragged themselves to their feet, limping back to the SUV. The man paused at the driver's side door, looked back one last time. Her name is Sophia Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Technologies. When she ruins your life, and she will remember that I tried to warn you. He got in. The Mercedes peeled out tires, screeching, disappearing into the night. Jack stood there for a moment, breathing hard, adrenaline still coursing through every nerve. Then he turned back. The woman Sophia was staring at him, face-pale eyes wide with shock. You. Her voice was barely a whisper. You fought them for me. You don't even know me. Jack walked over and knelt beside her. Doesn't matter. You needed help. That's enough. Tears spilled down her cheeks, cutting through the rain and blood. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. He slid one arm under her shoulders, the other beneath her knees, and lifted. She was lighter than he expected. She winced hard, biting back a cry when her ankle shifted. I got you. His voice came out quiet, steady. I got you. The passenger door of the truck swung open from the inside. Emma had unlocked it. Daddy, you were so cool. Her eyes were huge, 7 years old, and watching her father take down 2 grown men like something out of a movie. You knocked them down like superheroes do. Zoe, baby, not now. He settled Sophia into the passenger seat as gently as he could. She clutched her small designer purse to her chest like it was a lifeline, knuckles white against the leather. Emma leaned forward from the back seat, her voice dropping to something soft, something that sounded much older than 7. "Hi, I'm Emma. Don't be scared, okay? My daddy's really strong. He'll keep you safe." Sophia looked at the little girl. Something in her expression cracked just a little. She tried to smile, but it came out broken. "Thank you," she whispered. "What's your name?" "Emma. And this is Daisy." She held up the stuffed rabbit. "She helps when I'm scared. You can hold her if you want." Sophia's throat worked. She took the rabbit with trembling hands, held it like it was made of glass. Jack climbed back behind the wheel, soaked to the bone. He cranked the heat and pulled back onto the road. "We're going to the hospital. You need a doctor." "No." The panic in Sophia's voice was immediate, sharp. "No hospitals. Please. They'll find me there. They'll—" "Ma'am, your ankle's broken. You need medical attention." "I can't." Her breathing went rapid, shallow. "Please, I'm begging you. Just somewhere safe. Anywhere but a hospital." Jack looked at her, at the terror in her eyes, at the way her hands shook. He'd seen that look before. People who'd been hunted didn't think straight. They just knew one thing: survival meant staying invisible. He let out a long breath. "All right, my place. It's not much, but it's safe. I was a corpsman in the service. I can patch you up. But if you get worse, we're going to a hospital. Deal?" She nodded, sagging back against the seat. Emma reached forward and placed her small hand on Sophia's shoulder. "It's okay. You're with us now." Sophia closed her eyes. For the first time that night, she stopped shaking. Jack's apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building in West End that had seen better decades. No elevator. He carried Sophia up 3 flights, her weight shifting with each step, her breath catching every time he adjusted his grip. Emma ran ahead, unlocking the door with the key she kept on a lanyard around her neck. The place was small. 2 bedrooms, living room, kitchen, barely big enough to turn around in. The couch was second-hand brown leather, cracked and faded. A 32-inch TV from 2015 sat on a scratched wooden stand. 3 chairs around the kitchen table, one with a broken leg propped up on a phone book. On the wall, a framed photo of Jack and a woman with kind eyes on their wedding day, another of Emma as a newborn, and a purple heart in a glass case. Jack set Sophia down on the couch as gently as he could. She bit her lip so hard it went pale, but she didn't make a sound. "Emma, first aid kit. Red box under the bathroom sink." "Okay." She darted off her small feet, pattering across the worn hardwood. Jack knelt in front of Sophia. "I'm going to need to look at your ankle and that cut on your forehead. Is that okay?" She nodded, too exhausted to speak. He went to the kitchen, scrubbed his hands with antibacterial soap, came back with the kit Emma had retrieved. Inside, gauze, antiseptic, butterfly bandages, elastic wraps, ibuprofen, all of it organized with the precision of someone who'd done field medicine under fire. "I used to be a hospital corpsman with the Marines. I know what I'm doing, but I need your permission before I touch you." "Please." The word barely made it out. "Just make it stop hurting." Jack pulled on a pair of medical gloves, opened a packet of gauze, soaked it in antiseptic. He cleaned the blood from her forehead first. The cut was about 3 centimeters jagged, but not deep. No stitches needed if he could close it properly. He applied pressure to stop the bleeding, then used butterfly bandages to pull the edges of the wound together. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, every motion deliberate. Next, the ankle. He carefully removed her shoe, Louboutin red sole, probably cost more than his monthly rent. The ankle was swollen purple with bruising, twisted at the wrong angle. "Definitely broken. You really need an X-ray." "No." Her voice was firm despite the pain. "You said you could help. So help." Jack exhaled. He retrieved 2 thin aluminum splints from the kit along with an elastic bandage and more gauze. He positioned her foot at a 90-degree angle, packed gauze around the ankle for cushioning, then secured the splints on either side. He wrapped the elastic bandage firmly but not too tight, checking her toes for circulation. They stayed pink. Good. Sophia bit down so hard her lips split. A thin line of blood appeared, but she didn't cry out. Emma came back with a glass of water and 2 pills in her palm. The bottle said 2 for pain. Jack checked. Ibuprofen, 200 milligrams each. Safe dosage. Good job, sweetheart. Sophia took the pills, swallowed them with shaking hands. Emma sat down beside her on the couch, not too close, just near enough to be present. Does it hurt a lot? Sophia managed a weak nod. A little. My daddy's really good at fixing people. He fixed Mrs. Patterson when she fell down the stairs last year, and he fixed Mr. Chen's dog when it got hit by a car. Jack went to the kitchen. The fridge was nearly empty. 6 eggs, some bacon, half a loaf of bread, an apple. He cracked the eggs into a bowl, fried the bacon in a pan that had seen better years, toasted 2 slices of bread. Basic, but it was food. He brought Sophia a plate scrambled eggs, 2 strips of bacon toast, apple slices arranged neatly. Nothing fancy, but you need to eat. She stared at the plate like she'd never seen anything like it. When was the last time someone had cooked for her? Not a chef on payroll, not a 5-star restaurant. Just someone who cared enough to scramble eggs at midnight because she was hungry. She picked up the fork, took a bite, the taste of salt and grease and warmth, and then the tears came. Silent at first, then harder, shoulders shaking with the force of them. Jack's voice went soft. Did I hurt you when I wrapped the ankle? She shook her head, unable to speak. Then what? The words came out broken. I'm not used to this. Used to what? Being cared for. She looked up at him, tears streaming. People doing things without wanting something back, without an agenda, without... She couldn't finish. Jack grabbed a clean towel and gently dabbed her cheeks, careful around the butterfly bandages. Hey, it's okay. You're safe here. Nobody's going to hurt you. Not tonight. Emma scooted closer and wrapped her small arms around Sophia's waist. Don't cry. Please don't cry. Sophia looked down at the little girl, then up at Jack standing there with grease stains on his shirt and genuine concern in his eyes. She thought about her penthouse, 3,000 square feet of marble and glass, custom furniture, a chef's kitchen she'd never once used, a home that had never not once felt like this. Warm, real, safe. Thank you. The words came out raw. Thank you for stopping, for fighting for me, for bringing me here. You didn't have to do any of that. Jack crouched down so he was eye level with her. Yeah, I did. And in that moment, in a small apartment in West End with a stranger's daughter hugging her waist and a man she'd just met looking at her like she mattered, Sophia Hartwell felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Later, after Sophia had finished eating and Emma had been tucked into bed with Daisy and a promise that everything would be okay, Jack brought out an old pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt. They'd belonged to Sarah. He kept meaning to donate them, but somehow never did. Bathroom's on the left. Take your time. Yell if you need help. Sophia limped to the bathroom, leaning on the wall. When she closed the door and looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Mascara streaked down her face. Hair tangled and wild, the butterfly bandages stark white against her skin. She looked broken, but for the first time in years, she also looked real. She changed into the borrowed clothes, too big, soft from years of washing, smelling faintly of laundry detergent. When she came back out, the couch had been made up with a blanket and pillow. You take the couch. I'll be in the chair if you need anything. Jack nodded toward the worn recliner near the door. Old habit from the core, light sleeper, easier to hear if something's wrong. I can't take your bed. You're not. Emma's got the bedroom. I sleep out here most nights anyway. He turned off the overhead light, leaving just a small lamp glowing in the corner. Sophia lowered herself onto the couch, every movement sending fresh waves of pain through her ankle. But the cushions were soft, the blanket warm. Good night, Sophia. Good night, Jack. She lay there in the darkness, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sirens outside, Jack's steady breathing from the recliner. He was there, awake, watching over them. A stranger who'd fought for her, fed her, patched her wounds, given her his home, and asked for nothing. Sophia closed her eyes, and for the first time in months, maybe years, she felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Safe. Morning arrived with pale sunlight and the smell of coffee. Sophia pushed herself up on the couch, wincing as her ankle sent a sharp reminder through her body. But the swelling had gone down. She could shift her weight without wanting to scream. "Morning." Jack stood in the kitchen doorway, dish towel over his shoulder. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept much, but his voice was easy, warm. "How's the ankle?" "Hurts, but better than last night." "Good. That's good." He moved toward the stove. "Coffee's going." Emma insisted on making muffins. They're edible." From the kitchen came a small, indignant voice. "I heard that—" Despite everything, the pain, the fear, the chaos of the last 72 hours, Sophia smiled. Jack brought her a mug of coffee, black and strong, and a plate with a slightly lopsided blueberry muffin. Emma bounded in behind him, flour dusting her nose. "I made them myself," she announced proudly. "Well, Daddy helped with the oven part, but I did the mixing. They look wonderful." Sophia meant it. Emma beamed and settled on the floor with her own muffin, immediately pulling out a box of crayons and a fresh sheet of paper. Jack sat on the coffee table across from Sophia. For a moment they ate in comfortable silence. Then he spoke, his voice careful. "Look, I know it's not my business, but if someone's looking for you, if you're in danger, I need to know what we're dealing with. For Emma's sake, if nothing else." Sophia set down her mug. Her hands trembled slightly. "You're right. You deserve to know." She took a breath, then another, like she was standing at the edge of something and trying to decide whether to jump. "The man from last night, his name is Ryan Blackwood. He's my fiancé." She paused. "Or he was supposed to be." Jack's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes got harder. 3 days ago I found an email on his phone. By accident. I wasn't snooping, I just— She stopped, shook her head. "It doesn't matter how. What matters is what I saw." "What did you see?" "Plans, contracts, communications with 5 members of my company's board, a scheme to force me out and take over Hartwell Technologies, my father's company, the company he built from nothing." Jack leaned forward. "They were going to steal it." "Not steal. That would be too obvious." Sophia's laugh was bitter and short. "They were going to use the marriage. Have me sign over controlling interest as part of a unified business strategy. Ryan would become CEO. I'd be, I don't know, a figurehead, a trophy wife." She stared at her hands. 3 years. 3 years I thought he loved me. I was so stupid." "You're not stupid for trusting someone. I should have known better. My father warned me before he died. He said, 'Be careful who you let close, Sophia. In our world, everyone wants something.'" Emma looked up from her drawing. Her voice was small but clear. "What happened 3 days ago after you found the email?" Sophia glanced at the little girl, then back at Jack. "I took pictures, 6 pages of the most damaging documents. Then Ryan came home and found me with his phone. He knew immediately what I'd seen. He didn't even try to deny it. He just smiled. Said it didn't matter because I was going to sign the papers anyway." "What did you say?" Jack asked. "I said no." "Good." The next day he called an emergency board meeting. Told me it was about quarterly projections. But when I walked in, all 12 members were there. Ryan had the transfer documents ready, printed, waiting. He said I could sign them voluntarily or they'd remove me by force, declare me mentally unfit, whatever it took. Jack's jaw tightened. "And you refused." I stood up to leave. "And Ryan—" She touched her forehead where the butterfly bandages were. "He grabbed my arm. I tried to pull away and I tripped. Fell down the conference room stairs. 10 marble steps. I felt my ankle snap on the 3rd one." The room went very quiet. Jesus. The board just sat there, watching. Not one person moved. Not one person helped. Sophia swallowed hard. Ryan came down the stairs and stood over me. He said, "Sign the papers or I'll make sure you never walk out of this building." Emma had stopped drawing. She was staring at Sophia, her eyes wide and shining. I crawled to the back exit. Service entrance. I don't know how long it took. Every movement was... She stopped, swallowed again. I made it outside, into an alley. But I couldn't go any further. And then Ryan and his security found me. She looked at Jack, then Emma. And then you found me. The silence that followed was heavy. Just the hum of the refrigerator and Emma's crayon rolling slowly across the table. Jack's knuckles had gone white around his coffee mug. "Those photos you took, do you still have them?" Sophia reached for her purse with shaking hands and pulled out her phone. Cracked screen, but it still powered on. 6 pictures. It's not everything, but it's enough to prove there was a conspiracy. She handed the phone to Jack. He scrolled through the images. His face got darker with each one. Her voice fractured. I don't know what to do with them. If I go to the police, Ryan has connections. Judges, attorneys. He'll bury it. He'll bury me. Jack stared at the phone for a long moment. Something shifted in his face. A decision being made. We get more. Sophia blinked. What? 6 pictures isn't enough to take down a whole conspiracy, but it's a start. If we can get into your company's servers, pull the full communications, the contracts, the money trails, that's enough. I can't just walk into my own building. No. But you can access it remotely, right? You're still CEO. You still have credentials. Sophia's mind started turning. She could see at the path, the possibility, the system. I'd need a secure connection, a computer they can't trace. I've got a laptop. It's old, but it works. It's not that simple. The security protocols, then we find someone who knows how to get around them. Jack leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Look, I know a guy. Devon. We served together. He does cybersecurity now, freelance. If anyone can help us get that information safely, it's him. Sophia stared at him. The question had been building inside her since last night, pressing against her ribs like a second heartbeat. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This. She gestured around. At the apartment. At the bandages. At him. You already saved my life. You've given me a place to stay. Food. Medical care. You don't owe me anything. You don't even know me. So why are you helping me fight this fight? Jack set down his mug. When he spoke, his voice had changed. Quieter. Heavier. Like the words were coming from somewhere deep. You remember what I said last night about being a corpsman? Sophia nodded. There was a fire 3 years ago, small house in East Atlanta. His eyes went distant, not looking at her anymore, looking at something only he could see. I was first on scene, heard screaming. A woman trapped in the upstairs bedroom. Fire was spreading fast. Emma had gone very still. I went in, found her, carried her out. His voice went flat, emotionless, the way people sound when they've told a story so many times they've had to strip the feeling out just to survive it. But by the time I got her to the ambulance, she'd inhaled too much smoke. She died on the way to the hospital. Jack looked up, met Sophia's eyes. Her name was Mrs. Patterson, 72 years old, lived alone, no family. The fire was ruled arson. Her landlord wanted her out so he could sell the building. He paid someone to torch it. Sophia's breath caught. The landlord had money, good lawyers. Case got buried. He walked away. Jack's hands clenched. I couldn't save her, and I couldn't get her justice. That's something I live with every single day. He leaned forward. But you're here. You're alive. And you've got evidence. His voice was steady, certain. So yeah, I'm going to help you. Because maybe this time, the person with power doesn't get to just walk away. The silence that followed was heavy, full of understanding. Then Emma spoke, her voice small but fierce. My daddy is a hero, even when he doesn't think he is. Sophia looked at the little girl, then back at Jack. Something inside her, something that had been locked tight for years, sealed behind glass and ambition and survival, began to crack open. Okay, she said. Let's do it. Let's get the evidence. Jack nodded once. I'll call Devon, set up a meeting. It could take days, maybe weeks, and Ryan will be looking for me. Then you stay here, off the grid. We work fast and we work smart." Sophia felt tears building again. "I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me yet. We haven't won anything." Jack stood, grabbed his phone from the counter. "But we're going to try." He stepped into the kitchen to make the call. Sophia could hear his voice low and steady explaining the situation to someone on the other end. Emma scooted closer. She held up her drawing. 3 stick figures, one tall, one small, with pigtails, one with yellow hair. They were holding hands in front of a little house with a bright sun overhead. "This is us, you and me and Daddy." Sophia took the drawing with trembling hands. "It's beautiful. You can keep it, to remember that you're not alone anymore." And that was when Sophia finally broke. She pulled Emma into a hug and cried, really cried, for the first time since her mother died 22 years ago. She cried for the girl she used to be, the one who loved to paint and dream. She cried for the woman she'd become, the one who'd forgotten how to feel anything but ambition. And she cried for the possibility, fragile and terrifying, that maybe she could become someone new, someone real, someone who belonged. Devon arrived that afternoon. He walked with a slight limp, his prosthetic leg visible below his jeans, and carried a battered laptop bag slung over one shoulder. His handshake was firm, but his eyes were sharp, assessing missing nothing. "Ma'am?" He nodded at Sophia. "Jack told me a bit about your situation. Sounds like you've got quite a fight on your hands." "That's putting it mildly." "Well, let's see what we can do." Devon settled at the dining table and pulled out a laptop that looked like it had survived a war zone, because it probably had. "I'm going to need your login credentials, access codes, anything that gets us into Hartwell Technologies servers." Sophia rattled off usernames and passwords while Devon's fingers flew across the keyboard. His concentration was total, absolute, like a surgeon in an operating room. "Okay," he muttered. "You've still got executive access. That's good. But they've changed some of the security protocols since you've been gone, probably trying to lock you out. Can you get around it?" "Can I?" Devon looked up, grinning. "Lady, I cracked Taliban encrypted communications in Helmand Province with a laptop held together by duct tape. Corporate firewalls are child's play." His fingers moved faster. Lines of code scrolled across the screen, green text on black background, incomprehensible to Sophia, but apparently crystal clear to Devon. "There we go." He leaned back. "I'm in. What are we looking for?" "Email correspondence between Ryan Blackwood and the board members. Specifically, anyone named in those original photos." Sophia pulled out her phone, showing him the 6 images she'd captured. Devon's expression darkened as he looked through them. The grin disappeared. "These people are real pieces of work. Can you get the full emails?" "Already on it." His fingers flew again. "Downloading the entire email server for the past 3 years. Going to take a few hours, but we'll have everything." "Won't they notice?" "Not if I route it through about 15 proxy servers across 6 states. By the time they trace it, the trail will be so cold they'll think it was a ghost." Jack squeezed Sophia's shoulder. "Devon's the best. If anyone can get this evidence, it's him." They worked through the afternoon. Devon hunched over his laptop, occasionally muttering to himself. Jack made sandwiches. Emma colored at the other end of the table, occasionally asking Devon questions about computers that he answered with surprising patience. "What's a proxy server?" Emma asked. "It's like a disguise for your computer so nobody knows who you really are." "Like a superhero mask." "Exactly like a superhero mask." "Cool. Can I have one?" "When you're older, kid." And Sophia watched it all, feeling something shift inside her. These people, a former Marine turned electrician, a hacker with a prosthetic leg, a 7-year-old girl with crayon-stained fingers, they were fighting for her. Not because she paid them, not because they wanted something, because it was right. "Got something?" Devon's voice cut through the quiet. "You're going to want to see this." They crowded around the laptop. On the screen was an email chain. Devon read it aloud, his voice cold and even. From Ryan to board member Richard Townsend, October 15th, 3 years ago. Once she signs the transfer documents, we move immediately. She'll be removed from all decision-making. If she resists, we'll use the mental health angle. I've already got a psychiatrist lined up to declare her unstable. Sophia felt her blood turn to ice. Devon scrolled down. More emails, more evidence. Plans to liquidate company assets. Offshore accounts. Shell corporations. Names, dates, dollar amounts. This is... Sophia's voice shook. This is criminal fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. And we've got it all. Devon started copying files to an external hard drive. Every email, every document, every transaction. This is enough to bury them. How long until you have everything? Another hour, maybe 2. He looked up at her, his expression serious now, no trace of humor. But you need to be ready. Once you release this evidence, there's no going back. They'll come after you hard. Let them come. Sophia's voice was steel. I'm done running. That night, after Devon left with promises to have everything organized by morning, and after Emma had been tucked in with Daisy and a bedtime story, Jack and Sophia sat on the small balcony outside the apartment. The city spread below them, lights flickering, distant sirens wailing. You okay? Jack asked. I don't know. Sophia pulled his jacket, the one he'd draped over her shoulders, tighter around herself. A week ago I thought my life was over. I thought Ryan had won. I thought I'd die in that alley behind my own building. She let out a shaky breath. And now I'm sitting on a balcony in West End planning to take down my ex-fiancé and half my board of directors with a man I met 2 days ago. Sounds about right. It's insane. Little bit, yeah. They sat in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that isn't empty, the kind that's full of things waiting to be said. Jack? Yeah. Why are you really doing this? Sophia's voice was soft, careful. And don't say it's because it's the right thing. There's more to it than that. He was quiet for a long time, long enough that she thought maybe he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw, stripped bare. After Sarah died, Zoe's mother, I was angry. At the drunk driver. At the lawyers who got him off with a slap on the wrist. At a system that lets rich people buy their way out of consequences. He stared out at the city, not really seeing it. I couldn't save her. Couldn't get justice. And that it broke something in me. Something I thought was permanent. Sophia waited, letting him find the words. When I saw you in that road, scared hurt. And then I saw that guy in his expensive suit talking about you like you were property. Jack's jaw clenched. I saw every rich bastard who ever destroyed someone's life and walked away clean. And I thought maybe this time I can do something. Maybe this time I can help someone fight back. It's not your responsibility to save everyone, Jack. I know. He turned to look at her. But maybe I can save you. And maybe that's enough. Sophia felt tears burn at the edges of her eyes. She reached over and took his hand. Rough, calloused, warm. You already saved me, she whispered. The moment you stopped your truck. Their fingers intertwined. Neither of them pulled away. They sat like that for a long time, hands clasped, watching the city lights blur through Sophia's tears, not speaking, not needing to. Something had shifted between them, something neither of them was ready to name. But it was there, growing, real, undeniable. When the cold finally drove them back inside Sophia to the couch, Jack to his chair, they said goodnight like it was the most natural thing in the world. And in the dark, listening to each other breathe, both of them felt it. They weren't strangers anymore. The pounding on the door came at 7 in the morning. Jack was up instantly on his feet before his eyes were fully open. Marine instincts. His body moved before his brain caught up. He went to the window, peered through the blinds. His stomach dropped. Sophia. His voice was quiet, controlled. We've got company. She sat up on the couch, face going white. Ryan. Worse. Lawyers, reporters, cameras. He let the blinds fall back. "And yeah, Ryan's down there too." The pounding came again, harder. "Mr. Rivers." A sharp voice from the hallway. "We know Miss Hartwell is inside. We have a court order." Emma stumbled out of her bedroom, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, what's happening?" Jack scooped her up immediately. "It's okay, baby. Just some people at the door. I need you to stay in your room, okay? Play with your toys. Don't come out until I say." "But, please, Emma. For me." She nodded, her eyes wide and frightened. He set her down and closed the bedroom door gently. Back in the living room, Sophia was standing, leaning hard on her good leg. Her face was drawn tight. "What do we do?" "We open the door." Jack's voice was calm, sure. "And we don't let them see you scared. You're Sophia Hartwell, CEO. You don't hide." She took a shaky breath. "Got it. Stay behind me. Let me handle this." He unlocked the door and opened it. 5 men in expensive suits stood in the hallway. Behind them, 3 people with cameras, lenses, already up, red lights, already blinking. And at the back, Ryan Blackwood, perfectly composed in charcoal gray, that cold, practiced smile fixed on his face like a mask. The lead attorney, sharp-faced, silver-haired, radiating the particular arrogance of a man who billed $800 an hour, held up a document. "Mr. Calloway, I'm Gerald Hawthorne, attorney for Hartwell Technologies. We have a court order requiring Miss Sophia Hartwell to appear before the board of directors immediately." Jack took the paper, scanned it. It looked official. Judge's signature at the bottom. "This says she has to appear. Doesn't say anything about you dragging her out of here." "Mr. Calloway, we are prepared to have the police enforce this order if necessary." "Then call them, because Miss Hartwell isn't going anywhere until she's ready." Ryan stepped forward. His smile widened. "Still playing hero, I see. How noble." His eyes shifted past Jack. "Sophia, darling, this has gone on long enough. Come home. We can work this out." Sophia moved into view beside Jack. Her hands were shaking, but her voice came out steady and hard. "I don't have a home with you, Ryan. I never did." "You're not well." Ryan dripped false concern like syrup. "You've been through a trauma. You need proper care. Professional help." "I'm perfectly fine." "Are you—" Ryan gestured around the hallway at the apartment behind Jack. "You're hiding in a stranger's home. That doesn't sound like rational behavior to me." Jack's jaw clenched. "Watch your mouth, or what you'll assault me like you assaulted my security team." Ryan's smile turned sharp, predatory. "Yes, I've documented everything. The violence, the threats. When this goes to court, Mr. Calloway, you'll be lucky if you only lose custody of your daughter." Sophia gasped. "Don't you dare." "I dare quite a bit, actually." Ryan pulled out his phone, casual, almost bored. "I've already made calls. Child Protective Services will be very interested to know that Mr. Calloway is harboring a fugitive and putting his child in danger." "I'm not a fugitive." "The board has filed charges, embezzlement, fraud. You stole company property and fled. That makes you a fugitive, Sophia." Ryan looked at Jack. "And you aiding and abetting? That's a felony." The cameras were recording every word. Jack felt rage building in his chest, hot and dangerous, the kind of anger that could make you do something you'd regret for the rest of your life. But he kept his voice level. "Barely. Get out of my building. We're not leaving without Sophia." "Then I guess you're not leaving, because she's under my protection, and I don't care how many lawyers you bring. I don't care what threats you make. You're not taking her." One of the attorneys stepped forward. "Mr. Calloway, I strongly advise—" "I didn't ask for your advice." A commotion erupted at the end of the hallway. 2 uniformed police officers pushed through the crowd. "What's going on here?" the first officer asked. Ryan switched immediately. The predator vanished. In its place, a concerned fiancé worried reasonable. The transformation was so smooth it was nauseating. "Officers, thank God. This man is holding my fiancée against her will. She needs psychiatric help, and he's preventing us from getting her the care she needs." The officer looked at Jack. "Sir, is this true?" "No. Miss Hartwell is here voluntarily. She's free to leave whenever she wants. These people are harassing us." The officer looked past Jack to Sophia. "Miss Hartwell, are you here voluntarily?" Sophia's voice rang out clear and strong, not a tremor. "Yes, I am. Mr. Blackwood is lying. I'm not his fiancé anymore, and I'm not going anywhere with him." Ryan's mask slipped for just a second. "See, she's clearly not in her right mind. Confused, disoriented." "I'm perfectly lucid, Ryan." Sophia's voice cut through his performance like a blade. "And I'm done with your manipulation." The officer studied the situation, clearly uncomfortable, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. "Look, folks, this is getting out of hand. If there's a court order, the court order says I have to appear before the board." Sophia interrupted, calm and precise. "It doesn't say when. It doesn't say I have to go with them. I'll appear on my own terms." The attorney started to protest, but the officer raised a hand. "That's technically correct, ma'am. The order doesn't specify immediate enforcement." He looked at the crowd. "I think everyone needs to clear this hallway. This is a private residence." "This is absurd," Ryan began. "Sir, clear the hallway or I'll cite you for disturbing the peace." Ryan's composure cracked, just for a second. Red flushed up his neck, his jaw clenched, and something vicious and true flickered behind his eyes. "You have no idea what you're protecting, officer. She's a criminal. I'm a woman who finally woke up to your schemes, Ryan." Sophia stepped forward. Her voice was ice and fire at once. "And I am done playing your games." The cameras were eating it up, flashing, recording. Ryan realized his mistake too late. He smoothed his expression back into place, but the damage was done. The mask had slipped on camera. "Fine," he said, cold, hard. "We'll go. But Sophia, you have 48 hours to appear before the board. After that, we'll have you arrested for contempt." He looked at Jack. "And your friend here, I'll make sure he loses everything." He turned on his heel and walked away. His entourage followed lawyers' cameras the whole circus. The hallway slowly emptied. The officers left with a nod and a warning to keep things quiet. When the door finally closed, Sophia's legs gave out. Jack caught her, eased her back to the couch. "It's okay," he murmured. "You did great. You didn't let him bully you." "Did you hear what he said about Emma?" Sophia's voice was panicked, raw. "About CPS. Jack, I can't let him hurt you. I can't." "Hey." He cupped her face in his hands, steady and firm. "Look at me." She did. "He's bluffing. That's all he's got left. Empty threats. But what if he's not? What if he really calls CPS? What if you lose Emma because of me?" "That's not going to happen." "You don't know that." "I know that men like Ryan think money and power mean they can do whatever they want." Jack's voice was fierce, certain. "But they're wrong. We have evidence. We have truth. And that's stronger than anything he's got." Sophia wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. Emma appeared in her doorway, tears streaming down her face. "Daddy, are the bad men gone?" Jack went to her immediately, scooped her up, held her tight. "Yeah, baby. They're gone. They said mean things. About you. About Sophia." "I know. But they're just words, baby. Words can't hurt us." Emma buried her face in his shoulder. Her small body shook with sobs, and Sophia watched from the couch, heartbreaking. This beautiful little girl, this incredible man, they'd given her everything: safety, kindness, hope, and now she was bringing danger straight to their door. She couldn't let them suffer for her. She wouldn't. That night, after the lawyers and cameras had vanished, and Emma finally fell asleep clutching Daisy like a lifeline, Sophia made a decision. She waited until she heard Jack's footsteps come back to the living room. Waited until he settled into the recliner with that familiar creak of old leather. "I have to leave." Jack's head snapped up. "What? You heard what Ryan said. He's going to come after you, after Emma. I can't let that happen." Sophia stood, wobbled slightly on her healing ankle, but held steady. "You've done so much for me, more than anyone ever has. But I won't let you lose your daughter because of me. I won't. So your plan is what? Go back to Ryan. Let him win. My plan is to face the board, present the evidence, end this on my terms. Her voice shook but didn't break. Devon got everything we need. I have enough to destroy Ryan and everyone who helped him. But I have to do it alone. The hell you do. Jack. No. He stood cross to her in 2 steps. You think I'm going to let you walk back into that boardroom by yourself after everything? It's not your fight. It became my fight the moment I picked you up off that street. His voice was rough with emotion. You're not alone anymore, Sophia. You don't get to make that decision without me. I'm trying to protect you. And I'm trying to protect you. They stood close enough that she could feel the heat coming off him, could see the fear barely hidden behind his anger. We're stronger together. You know that, right? What if something happens to Emma because of me? Sophia's voice cracked. I couldn't live with that. Nothing's going to happen to Emma. I've already called a lawyer. A real one, not one of Ryan's goons. Jack's grip tightened on her shoulders. If CPS shows up, we're ready. And Devon's got friends in the press. We're about to expose everything Ryan has done. By tomorrow, he won't have time to threaten anyone because he'll be too busy defending himself. Sophia looked up at him, eyes blurred with tears. Why are you doing this? Because somewhere along the way, Jack's voice went quiet, barely above a whisper. This stopped being about justice and started being about you. The words hung between them, heavy and real. You don't have to say anything, he added quickly. I know it's complicated. I know we barely know each other, but I need you to know you're not just some stranger I helped. He swallowed hard, searching for words that wouldn't come out wrong. You matter to me, to Emma. You matter. Sophia couldn't speak, could barely breathe. All her life she'd been valued for what she could provide. Her father valued her as an heir. Ryan valued her as a tool. The board valued her as a figurehead. But Jack valued her as a person, just herself. Nothing more, nothing less. I matter to you, she whispered. Yeah, you do. She closed the distance between them, wrapped her arms around his waist, pressed her face against his chest. His arms came around her immediately, holding her tight, holding her like she was something worth keeping. They stood like that for a long time, neither wanting to let go. Finally, Sophia pulled back just enough to look up at him. Okay, we do this together. Together. But if things go wrong, if Ryan comes after Emma, you run. You take her, and you get as far away from me as possible. Promise me. Jack's jaw clenched. Everything in him fought against the words. I can't promise that. Then I'm leaving right now. Sophia, promise me, Jack. Please. It's the only way I can do this. He stared at her for a long moment, every muscle tense with resistance. Then reluctantly he nodded. Fine. If it comes to that, and it won't, but if it does, I'll make sure Emma is safe. I promise. Thank you. She rested her head against his chest again, listening to the steady beat of his heart. Tomorrow, she would face her demons. Tomorrow, she would fight for her freedom. But tonight, she let herself be held by someone who cared, someone who saw her, someone who made her believe that maybe, just maybe, she was worth fighting for. The next morning came too soon. Sophia woke at 5, heart-pounding, mind-racing. She lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to Jack's soft breathing from the recliner, the distant hum of traffic outside. She'd told him she'd stay. She'd agreed to fight together, but the fear hadn't gone away. It had only gotten louder. 48 hours. That's what Ryan had given her. And every one of those hours put Jack and Emma in more danger. Quietly, she pushed the blanket aside and stood. Her ankle protested but held. She moved through the apartment like a ghost, gathering the few things she'd accumulated. Her cracked phone, her purse, the borrowed clothes she'd fold and leave behind. Then she sat at the dining table and pulled out a piece of paper. Her hand trembled as she wrote, Jack and Emma. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Please don't be angry. This is the only way I can protect you both. These past 2 weeks have been the happiest of my life. You gave me something I didn't know existed, a family. Real love. The feeling of being seen as just myself. She wrote more. About Emma's bravery. About Jack's heart. About the courage they'd given her. She signed it, folded it carefully and propped it against the coffee maker where Jack would find it first thing. Then she grabbed her bag, slipped on her shoes, the designer heels Jack had tried to fix, now held together with duct tape and hope, and moved toward the door. Her hand was on the doorknob when his voice stopped her. "You're leaving." She turned. Jack stood in the hallway, fully dressed, arms crossed. Not surprised. Not sleeping. Waiting. "How long have you been awake?" "Since you got up. I know what restless insomnia sounds like, Sophia. I've lived with it for 3 years. I left you a note. I'm sure it's very touching, but I'd rather hear it from you." He walked toward her slowly. "You were going to sneak out in the middle of the night after you promised, 'It's better this way.' For who you? Because it sure as hell isn't better for me or Emma. Jack, you heard what Ryan said. He's going to destroy you. He's going to call CPS. He's going to—" "Let him try." Jack's voice was steel. "But I'm not letting you go back to that boardroom alone. That's not negotiable." "I'm afraid." The words burst out of her raw and desperate. "I'm terrified of what he'll do to you, to Emma. Don't you understand? Everyone I love gets hurt. My mother died because of my father's cruelty. I can't—" Her voice shattered. "I can't be the reason you lose your daughter." Jack closed the distance in 2 strides. He cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to me. Ryan can threaten all he wants, but he doesn't have the power he thinks he does. We have evidence, we have truth, and we have people who believe in us. That's not enough. Then I don't know what is. But Emma is my daughter. I will protect her. But you staying here doesn't endanger her. You running does. Because if you go back alone, Ryan wins, and he'll do this to someone else, and that person might not make it out." His thumb brushed a tear from her cheek. "I can't let you do that. I won't. You don't understand. Ryan will do everything he said. He'll take Emma, and that will be my fault. Then let me come with you. I won't go into the boardroom. I know you have to do that part yourself. But let me be there, in the building, close enough to help if things go wrong. Jack, please." His voice cracked, barely holding together. "Don't make me lose someone else I care about. I can't do it again. I can't." Sophia stared at him. She saw the fear in his eyes, raw and real. The same fear he must have carried when Sarah died, when he realized he couldn't protect the person he loved. "You care about me," she whispered. "More than I should. More than is probably smart given that we've known each other 6 weeks. He let out a shaky breath. "But yeah, I care about you. A lot. I care about you too. That's why I have to go alone. That's the stupidest logic I've ever heard." Jack's hands dropped from her face. "Love isn't about protecting people by pushing them away, Sophia. It's about standing beside them when things get hard. About being there, even when it's scary." His voice softened, gentled. "Sarah taught me that. She stood by me through deployments, through nightmares, through all the broken parts of me that came back from war. She didn't run, she stayed. But Sophia couldn't finish the sentence. "She died. I know. But her death wasn't because she stayed. It was random, cruel, completely beyond my control." His hands trembled slightly. "But this you going in there alone, that's something I can control, something I can help with. So please, let me." Sophia closed her eyes. Every instinct screamed at her to walk out that door to protect him the only way she knew how. But another voice, quieter, growing stronger, whispered something different. "You're not alone anymore. You don't have to be." She opened her eyes. "Okay, you can come with me. But you stay outside the boardroom. And if anything happens, anything at all, you take Emma and you run. I already promised. Promise me again." He pressed his forehead against hers. "I promise." If it comes to that, I'll keep Emma safe. I swear it. Thank you. They stood like that, foreheads touching, breathing the same air. Then Jack pulled back. We should get ready. Board meeting's at 9. That gives us 6 hours. Devon's meeting us at 7 with the final evidence files. Sophia took a shaky breath. And you said you called someone else, a lawyer? Yeah, Captain Rachel Torres. She's on her way. 11 o'clock sharp, a knock came at the door. A woman stood in the hallway. Black mid-40s navy suit, sharp enough to cut glass leather briefcase in one hand. Her eyes swept the apartment with tactical precision before landing on Jack. Jack Calloway. She broke into a smile. Been a long time, Marine. Captain Torres. Jack grinned, the first real smile Sophia had seen from him all morning. You look good. Civilian life treating you well. So do you. She stepped inside, her gaze moving to Sophia with the same assessing sharpness. You must be Sophia Hartwell. I'm Rachel Torres. JAG Corps retired. Corporate law now. Her handshake was firm, certain. I hear you've got quite a case. Thank you for coming. I don't know what Jack told you, but he told me enough. Conspiracy to commit fraud, embezzlement, assault, attempted coercion. Rachel's smile turned razor sharp. Honey, I've taken down war criminals. Corporate scumbags are a cakewalk. She set her briefcase on the table and opened it with practiced efficiency. Here's what's going to happen. You walk into that boardroom at 9 a.m. with me at your side. We present the evidence systematically. No drama, no emotion, just facts. We give them exactly one opportunity to resign quietly before we release everything to the SEC, the FBI, and every major news outlet in the country. Sophia felt something loosen in her chest. Hope. Real, tangible hope. And if they don't resign, then we bury them. Rachel's voice was ice. I've already drafted criminal complaints, civil suits, and emergency injunctions. The moment they refuse, we file everything simultaneously. They'll be in handcuffs before lunch. What about Ryan? What if he tries something? That's where I come in. Jack stepped forward. I'll be right outside the boardroom. Rachel glanced at him. You're not seriously planning to? I'm planning to stand in a hallway. If anyone has a problem with that, they can call the cops again. His jaw set like concrete, immovable. Sophia doesn't go in there without backup. Non-negotiable. Rachel studied him for a beat, then nodded. Fair enough. But you keep your hands to yourself unless absolutely necessary. Understood? Understood. Devon arrived at 7 with his laptop bag and a grim expression. Got everything. 847 emails, 31 forged contracts, audio recordings from 4 separate meetings, bank records showing transfers to accounts in Delaware and Nevada. He pulled up a video file. And the pièce de résistance security footage from the Hartwell Tech server room. Someone on your IT team was smart enough to back everything up before they started deleting files. This shows Ryan and Richard Townsend physically removing hard drives 3 days after you went missing. Sophia stared at the screen. That's destruction of evidence. Sure is. And it's all time-stamped and verified. Devon copied files onto 3 separate USB drives. One for you, one for my secure backup, and one for Rachel. Rachel took the drive, examined it. This is good. This is very good. They won't be able to explain this away. For the next 2 hours they prepared. Rachel and Sophia ran through the presentation, practicing every slide, every response to potential objections. Devon loaded all the evidence onto Sophia's laptop, organized by date and type of crime. Jack made coffee, strong and black, and stood guard by the window, watching for any sign of Ryan's people. Emma woke at 8:30, padded out in her pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She took one look at the adults gathered around the dining table and understood without being told. Today's the big day. Her voice was quiet, serious beyond her years. Sophia nodded. Today we fight back. Emma walked over and hugged Sophia around the waist. You're going to win. I know you will. How can you be so sure? Because you have us, and the bad guys only have money. Money can't buy family. Sophia knelt down, ignoring the protest from her ankle. You're very wise, Emma Rivers. I know. Emma's grin was pure 7-year-old confidence. Good luck, Mama Sophie. The nickname hit Sophia like a physical blow. Mama Sophie. She'd heard Emma use it a few times over the past week, tentative at first, then with growing certainty. But hearing it now on the morning of the biggest fight of her life felt like being handed something precious and fragile. I'll do my best. That's all anyone can do. Jack's truck rolled through downtown Atlanta at 8:40. Traffic was light, the morning sun burning off the last of the overnight rain. Sophia sat in the passenger seat, hands clasped tight in her lap. Rachel occupied the back, reviewing notes on her tablet. Nobody spoke. They parked in the visitor lot at 8:50, sat there for a moment in silence. Sophia stared up at Hartwell Technologies Tower, 40 stories of glass and steel, the logo gleaming in the sun. The building where her father had brought her as a child, where she'd learned to code at 19, where she'd spent 15 years building something that mattered. Now, it felt like enemy territory. You ready? Jack's voice was gentle. No, but I'm going anyway. Rachel touched her shoulder from behind. Remember what we practiced. You're not defending yourself, you're presenting facts. Let the evidence do the work. Sophia nodded. They got out of the truck, walked across the parking lot, through the main doors. The lobby was all marble and chrome, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. A few employees glanced their way, did double takes when they recognized Sophia, but nobody said anything. The elevator to the 15th floor felt like it took a year. Sophia's heart hammered against her ribs. Sweat beaded on her palms despite the air conditioning. Jack stood beside her, solid and steady, his presence an anchor. The doors opened. Long hallway, conference room at the end. Rachel stepped out first. I'll go in and set up. Give me 5 minutes. She disappeared down the hall. Jack and Sophia stood alone in the elevator bank. I'll be right here. Jack's voice was low, meant only for her. If you need me, you just say my name. If I call you, you'll get arrested for trespassing. I don't care. Sophia looked at him, this man who'd stopped his truck in the rain, who'd fought for her when he had every reason to drive away, who was willing to risk everything for someone he'd known 6 weeks. She kissed him. Quick, soft, desperate. A promise and a prayer all at once. When she pulled back, Jack's eyes were wide. You what? For luck. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. I'll see you when it's over. She turned and walked down the hallway before her courage failed. Behind her, Jack stayed rooted in place, one hand touching his lips, like he could still feel the ghost of her there. The conference room doors loomed. Sophia straightened her spine, lifted her chin, and pushed them open. 12 faces turned toward her, the board of directors seated around the long walnut table. Ryan at the head, her father's chair, the position that should have been hers, looking perfectly composed in his charcoal suit. Richard Townsend beside him, Patricia Chen across the table, David Wu and Jennifer Cole and Thomas Price scattered among the others. And sitting apart from them, clearly uncomfortable, the 7 board members who'd had no part in the conspiracy, including Margaret Willis, her father's oldest friend who looked like she'd aged 10 years in the past week. Ryan stood, that practiced smile sliding into place. Sophia, you look better. I'm glad. Sophia's voice came out cold as winter. I'm fine, Ryan, and I'm here to tell the truth. Rachel was already set up at the far end of the table, laptop connected to the massive screen on the wall. She didn't look up, just continued organizing files with brisk efficiency. This is highly irregular. Gerald Hawthorne, Ryan's lead attorney, spoke from the corner where he stood with 2 associates. Miss Hartwell was supposed to appear alone. Ms. Hartwell is represented by counsel. That's her right. Rachel's tone could have frozen nitrogen. Now sit down and let us begin. Ryan's smile thinned. By all means. I'm very interested to hear what Sophia has to say. Sophia walked to the presentation station, Rachel beside her. She plugged in her USB drive. The screen flickered to life. 6 days ago, I discovered evidence of a criminal conspiracy to defraud Hartwell Technologies and its shareholders. Her voice carried across the room, clear and unwavering. Today I'm going to prove it. She clicked to the first slide. An email filled the screen. From Ryan, Blackwood at hartwell-tech.com. To Richard.Townsend at hartwell-tech.com. Date, October 15, 2021. Subject Phase 1. Complete. Richard, Sophia has agreed to marry me. She trusts me completely. After the wedding, we'll convince her to sign transfer documents under the guise of unified management structure. Once that's done, the board votes to remove her. Simple. Everything is proceeding as planned. Ryan Richard Townsend's face went white as chalk. That's not... The email is authenticated with your digital signature, Richard. Sophia's tone was clinical, detached. Metadata confirms it was sent from your company laptop. There's no denying it. She advanced to the next slide. A contract. Agreement between Hartwell Technologies and Tech Venture, LLC. Amount $120 million. Services Advanced AI Development Platform. Signed Ryan Blackwood, COO, Richard Townsend, CFO. Tech Venture, LLC. Sounds impressive. Sophia split the screen. The right side showed a Google search result. No company found. Except it doesn't exist. No physical address, no website, no employees. Just a shell corporation registered in Delaware to hide $120 million. She pulled up the next document, a flowchart showing money movement. Here's where it gets interesting. Over 3 years, $850 million was transferred from Hartwell Technologies to 5 different shell companies, all registered in Delaware, Nevada, and Wyoming, states chosen specifically because their corporate laws allow anonymous ownership. The chart showed arrows flowing from Hartwell Tech to Tech Venture, LLC Pacific Solutions, Inc. Global Innovations, LLC, Atlantic Holdings, Inc., and Summit Ventures, LLC. Then from those companies through a maze of intermediary accounts, all ending at one destination. And where did all that money go? Sophia zoomed in on the final account. First National Bank of Nevada. Account holder Ryan Blackwood. She displayed the bank statement's account numbers redacted for privacy, but the name crystal clear. That's... Ryan stood, his composure finally cracking. This is doctored evidence. Sophia is unstable. She's fabricating. The bank records are certified by First National Bank of Nevada. Rachel's voice cut through his protest like a scalpel. They've already confirmed their authenticity to the FBI. The room went dead silent. Margaret Willis rose slowly from her chair. Her voice shook. Ryan, tell me this isn't true. Ryan's mask was slipping, pieces falling away to reveal something uglier beneath. Margaret, you know me. I've worked for this company 8 years. I love Hartwell Tech like it's my own. Everything I did was to save us from incompetent leadership. He gestured at Sophia, his control fracturing with every word. She was running this company into the ground. I did what was necessary. You stole $850 million. Sophia's voice was quiet, but it filled the room. That's not saving anything. That's theft. I was investing in our future by embezzling company funds and hiding them in personal accounts. She clicked to the next slide. Let's talk about your investments. The screen showed trading records, detailed logs of stock transactions. While you were secretly moving company money, you were also short-selling Hartwell Tech stock. You bet against our own company using insider knowledge to profit from the damage you were causing. The numbers were damning. You made $47 million shorting our stock while simultaneously telling the board we needed to cut costs and lay off employees. Jennifer Cole started crying. Thomas Price stared at the table. David Wu had gone gray. But Ryan wasn't done. He straightened his tie, smoothed his jacket, and when he spoke again, the panic was gone. In its place, cold calculation. You want to talk about bad leadership, Sophia? Let's discuss your performance. He pulled out his own laptop connected to a second monitor. Charts and graphs appeared. Profits down 23% during your 2 years as CEO. 3 major projects complete failures. $400 million wasted. Stock price dropped from $280 per share to $182. That's a 35% loss in shareholder value. Ryan looked around the table. I took money, yes, but I used it to fund projects Sophia was too timid to pursue. Projects that are now generating $200 million in annual profit. I saved this company from a CEO who was destroying it through incompetence and indecision. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. Ryan was good. He was turning this from a question of ethics to a question of results. But Sophia had been ready for this. She'd known he would try to make it about her capabilities rather than his crimes. She brought up her own presentation. You're right. Profits decreased 23%, but you omitted context. The screen showed a detailed breakdown. We invested $600 million in R&D for Hartwell AI 3.0, our next-generation platform. It launches in 4 months and is projected to generate $2.8 billion in annual revenue. Those failed projects you mentioned, they were essential testing phases. Every tech company has similar failure rates during development. Google, Apple, Microsoft, all of them. She clicked again. More trading data. And that 35% stock decline, it wasn't because of poor management. It was because you were manipulating the market. You shorted our stock, then used your position to leak pessimistic earnings projections to financial reporters. You created the decline you're now using to justify your theft. Sophia pulled up another document. A legal complaint. As for your successful project, the one generating $200 million, you stole the intellectual property from our development partner, Innovate Solutions. They're currently suing us for $680 million. Your success is about to bankrupt us. Ryan's face had gone from confident to furious to something approaching panic. The calculation in his eyes was being replaced by desperation. This is absurd. You're twisting facts to support a narrative. I demand— The conference room doors burst open. 6 FBI agents in tactical gear, 2 U.S. Marshals behind them. Special Agent Miller, 50-something gray at the temple's badge out, stepped forward. Ryan Blackwood, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit securities fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. Ryan's voice climbed toward hysteria. You can't. I have lawyers. This is— Miller was already reading him his rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. 2 agents moved forward with handcuffs. Ryan jerked back. This is a mistake. I have $200 million in legal defense. I'll fight this for years. You'll never— Actually, Mr. Blackwood, you won't. Miller's tone was almost bored. You're being charged with federal crimes. The evidence has been reviewed by a grand jury. They've already issued the indictment, and given that you have multiple bank accounts in Delaware, Nevada, and Wyoming under false corporate names, you're considered a significant flight risk. Bail will be denied. The handcuffs clicked into place. Ryan stared at Sophia, all pretense gone. What looked back at her was pure hatred stripped of any mask. You think you've won? My lawyers will tear you apart. I'll drag this through every court. I'll make you spend every penny you have defending yourself. And when it's over, when you're broken, you'll wish— Actually, you won't be doing any of that either. Rachel stood tablet in hand. 3 days ago, I filed sealed complaints with the SEC, the FBI, and the Georgia Attorney General. Those complaints have now been unsealed and delivered to every major news outlet in Atlanta. CNN has your story running in 20 minutes. The Wall Street Journal went to print this morning with your face on the front page. She smiled sharp as broken glass. Your reputation is already destroyed. Your assets are being frozen as we speak. And the public defender you'll be assigned won't be nearly as effective as the attorneys you're used to. Ryan lunged toward Sophia, pure rage, no calculation left. The agents grabbed him before he got 3 steps. You destroyed me. He was screaming now, all composure shattered. I gave you everything. I loved you, and you— Miller's voice cut through the outburst. Add threatening a witness to the charges. They dragged Ryan toward the door. He was still screaming, the words dissolving into incoherent fury. The doors closed behind him. The sound echoed in the sudden silence. Miller turned back to the room. Richard Townsend, Patricia Chen, David Wu, Jennifer Cole, Thomas Price. You're also under arrest. Patricia Chen collapsed in her chair, sobbing. I have 3 children. Please. I'll cooperate. I'll testify. Just please. You should have thought about that before participating in an $850 million fraud scheme. Miller's tone held no sympathy. You'll have the opportunity to negotiate with prosecutors. But right now, you're all coming with us. One by one, they were handcuffed and led out. Richard went in silent shock. David Wu kept muttering about his reputation. Jennifer couldn't stop crying. Thomas maintained his dignity until the very end, walking out with his head high even as the cuffs bit into his wrists. When the last of them had been escorted away, the conference room held only 7 board members, Sophia, Rachel, and a terrible yawning silence. Margaret Willis stood, crossed the room, pulled Sophia into a fierce embrace. Your father would be so proud, sweetheart, so incredibly proud. Sophia broke. All the fear and pain and rage of the past week came pouring out in great shaking sobs. She held on to Margaret and cried like she was a child again before she learned that crying was weakness, before she forgot that it wasn't. When she finally pulled back, wiping her eyes, she addressed the remaining board members. I'm stepping down as CEO. Shocked silence. Then Margaret, Sophia, why you just won? You saved the company. The company needs new leadership, someone not connected to this scandal. Sophia's voice was steady now, sure. I'm recommending you as interim CEO, Margaret. 6 months. Then we find someone permanent from outside. Are you certain? I've never been more certain of anything. I'll stay on the board as chairwoman. I'll oversee the transition. But I can't be CEO anymore. I need time to figure out who I am when I'm not trying to be my father. Margaret studied her for a long moment, then nodded. If that's what you want, I accept. But the board has to vote. The vote was unanimous. Margaret Willis, interim CEO. Sophia Hartwell, board chairwoman. Transition to begin immediately. Sophia walked out of that conference room feeling lighter than she had in years, like she'd been carrying a crushing weight and had finally been allowed to set it down. Jack was waiting in the hallway. He'd been there for 3 hours, standing guard like he'd promised. When he saw her, relief flooded his face. You okay? She nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. He pulled her into his arms and she collapsed against him, every ounce of adrenaline draining away at once. It's over. They arrested Ryan, all of them. I heard. His voice rumbled against her ear. You were amazing in there. Rachel told me. Said you destroyed every argument they tried to make. I couldn't have done it without all of you. Yeah, you could have, but you didn't have to. They stood there in that hallway for a long time, holding each other while the building buzzed with rumors and speculation, and the news spread like wildfire through every department. Eventually, Rachel appeared, briefcase in hand, looking satisfied. The press is gathering downstairs. Sophia, they're going to want a statement. Sophia straightened, wiped her eyes. Let's get it over with. The lobby was chaos. Reporters with cameras and microphones, photographers jockeying for position security, trying to maintain order. Sophia stepped up to the makeshift podium, Rachel beside her, and faced the crowd. My name is Sophia Hartwell. This morning, Ryan Blackwood and 5 members of the Hartwell Technologies Board of Directors were arrested on federal charges including fraud, embezzlement, and obstruction of justice. The evidence against them is substantial and has been turned over to federal prosecutors. Hartwell Technologies will cooperate fully with all investigations. Hands shot up. Questions shouted over each other. Sophia held up one hand. I am stepping down as CEO to focus on healing and rebuilding. Margaret Willis will serve as interim CEO while we search for permanent leadership. I will remain on the board as chairwoman to ensure this transition is successful. Thank you. She turned to leave. A reporter called out, Ms. Hartwell, is it true you were hiding from Mr. Blackwood, that he assaulted you? Sophia paused, turned back. Yes. Ryan Blackwood attacked me when I refused to participate in his scheme. I sustained injuries and went into hiding. I was helped by people who had no reason to help me except that they believed it was the right thing to do. People who proved that integrity and courage still matter more than money or power. Her eyes found Jack in the crowd standing near the back. I owe them my life, and I will spend the rest of it trying to be worthy of what they gave me. She pushed through the crowd toward the exit. Jack met her at the door. They walked out together into the bright Atlanta morning. In the truck driving away from Hartwell Tower for what felt like the last time, Sophia looked at Jack. What now? Now we go home, pick up Emma, and figure out what comes next. I don't have a home anymore. I gave up the penthouse. I resigned from the company. She stopped, the realization hitting her. I don't know who I am if I'm not CEO. Jack reached over and took her hand. Then I guess we figure it out together. 2 weeks later, Sophia stood in the small office space she'd just leased in Decatur. Empty walls, scarred floors, windows that needed cleaning. But it was hers, not the company's, not her father's legacy. Just hers. The sign on the door read, Phoenix Rising, support for survivors of financial abuse and domestic violence. Jack was installing security cameras, drilling holes in the corners with practiced efficiency. Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, drawing designs for the waiting room. We should have comfortable chairs. Emma's voice was serious, thoughtful. Not the hard plastic kind, and maybe some toys for kids whose moms need help. That's a great idea. Sophia made a note on her tablet. What else? Pictures. Happy ones, so people know it's safe here. Devin arrived with donated computers, setting up a network that couldn't be traced or hacked. Rachel came by with legal forms, helping Sophia establish the nonprofit structure, the bylaws, the mission statement. Over the next months, Phoenix Rising grew. First one location, then two. Sophia hired social workers, therapists, legal advocates. Women who'd survived their own battles and wanted to help others fight theirs. She sold her remaining shares in Hartwell Tech, 30% of the company worth roughly $400 million. Put every penny into Phoenix Rising. Built safe houses, legal defense funds, job training programs, child care services. And every day she thought about that night in the rain, about a man who stopped his truck for a stranger, about a little girl who offered her stuffed rabbit to someone who was scared, about people who proved that the best things in life can't be bought, they can only be given freely. 6 weeks after the board meeting, exactly 12 weeks since the night they met, Jack took Sophia and Emma to Piedmont Park. Spring was in full bloom, magnolias white against blue sky. They walked around the lake, Emma running ahead to chase butterflies. Jack stopped at a bench overlooking the water. I need to tell you something. Sophia's heart jumped. Okay. Jack knelt down, one knee on the grass, pulled a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. I know we've only known each other 3 months. I know this is crazy. But I knew the night I picked you up off that road. Knew before I even understood what I was feeling. He opened the box. A simple silver band with 3 small stones, sapphire blue, rose quartz, pink, white topaz clear. Blue for me, pink for Emma, white for you. 3 pieces, 1 family. Sophia's hands flew to her mouth. Jack, I don't have much to offer. Small house, old truck, a job that pays the bills but won't make us rich. But I can give you something money can't buy: love. Real, honest, every single day love. The kind that doesn't quit when things get hard. His voice shook. I can give you a home, not a building. A place where you're valued for who you are, not what you do. Where you can be scared and strong and broken and whole all at the same time. Where you belong. Tears streamed down Sophia's face. I don't need to think about it. You sure? Because you're the best man I've ever known. The answer is yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Jack slid the ring onto her finger. Perfect fit. He stood and kissed her while Emma shrieked with joy and ran over to throw her arms around both of them. You said yes. I knew you would. I helped pick the ring. Sophia laughed through her tears. You knew. Daddy asked me last week. I picked the pink stone because that's my favorite color." They stood there in the park, three people who'd found each other in the wreckage of loss and pain and fear, holding on to each other like they'd never let go. 3 months after that, they married in the Atlanta Botanical Garden. 50 guests. No designer dress, just simple white silk from a boutique downtown. Jack in a borrowed suit. Emma as flower girl in pink, carrying roses. Marcus stood as best man. Rachel came with her wife. Margaret Willis sat in the front row crying happy tears. Mrs. Chen brought half the neighborhood. And scattered among the crowd, 12 women from Phoenix Rising who'd found their own strength, their own freedom, their own second chances. The vows were simple, honest, real. Jack. You taught me to love again when I thought that part of me was dead. I promise to stand beside you, in good times and hard times, when you're strong and when you need strength, always. Sophia. You saved me from the life I thought I had to live, from the person I thought I had to be. You showed me that vulnerability isn't weakness, and that love doesn't have to be earned. I promise to always be myself with you. No masks, no pretending, just me. And I trust that will be enough. Emma interrupting. And I promise to draw pictures for both of you every day, and to be good, most of the time. The crowd laughed. The officiant pronounced them married. Jack kissed Sophia like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. Emma crashed into them both, and they stood there, a family complete and whole and real. At the reception, Sophia's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Ms. Hartwell, my name is Lisa Chen. I saw your interview on CNN about Phoenix Rising. I just left my husband. I have my 6-month-old daughter and nowhere to go. Can you help us?" Sophia's throat tightened. "Where are you right now?" "Greyhound station, downtown." "Stay there. I'm coming to get you." She found Jack, explained. He didn't hesitate. "Let's go." They left their own wedding reception to pick up a stranger in crisis. Found Lisa at the bus station, 23, bruised-faced baby in her arms, terror in her eyes. Sophia held her while she cried. "You're safe now. We'll take care of you and your daughter. You're going to be okay." Lisa looked at her through tears. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." And Sophia smiled, remembering another rainy night, another desperate moment, another stranger who stopped when he had every reason to keep driving. "Because someone helped me when I needed it most. Now it's my turn to help you." 1 year into the marriage, Sophia stood in the Phoenix Rising headquarters, no longer a small office in Decatur, but a renovated warehouse with space for 30 staff members, consultation rooms, a children's area painted in bright colors, and a legal clinic that operated 4 days a week. The walls displayed artwork from survivors and their kids, Emma's drawings prominent among them. She was reviewing intake forms when her assistant knocked. "Ms. Rivers, there's someone here. Walk in. She's asking for you specifically." The woman in the waiting room looked like Sophia had felt that rainy night, desperate, hunted, holding on to consciousness by sheer will. Mid-30s, expensive clothes, torn and dirty, one eye swollen shut, split lip, still bleeding. "I'm Sophia Rivers. You're safe here." "What's your name?" The woman's voice came out hoarse. "Amanda. Amanda Price. I saw you on the news last year, when you took down Ryan Blackwood. I hoped, come with me." Sophia guided her to a private consultation room signaled for the medical team. "Whatever you need, we'll help, but first let's get you checked out by a nurse." While the medical staff tended to Amanda's injuries, 3 cracked ribs, possible concussion, defensive wounds on both arms. Sophia sat with her, just being present, not pushing for details, just there. Eventually Amanda spoke. "My husband is Senator Thomas Price." Sophia went still. Thomas Price, one of Ryan's co-conspirators. He'd served 9 months in federal prison, been released 6 months ago, his political career supposedly over. "He got out early. Good behavior." Amanda's laugh was brittle. "First week home he started drinking, said I was the reason he went to prison, that if I'd supported him properly, kept the house better, been a better wife, none of it would have happened." The story spilled out, the escalating verbal abuse. objects thrown, then fists. Amanda had called the police twice. Both times Thomas's lawyer arrived before the cops finished taking statements. Both times the charges disappeared. I finally left 3 days ago. Took my daughter, she's 9, and ran. But he found us at my sister's house. Beat me in front of my child. Tears cut through the grime on her face. I can't go back. I won't. But I don't know how to fight someone with that much power. Sophia took her hand. You fight by not being alone, by having people who know how the system works and won't back down. She called Rachel Torres. Within 2 hours they had emergency protective orders filed. Amanda and her daughter placed in a confidential safe house and criminal charges moving forward through a prosecutor who couldn't be bought or intimidated. Thomas Price tried the same tactics that had worked before. His attorney showed up at the police station with a briefcase full of legal threats. But this time Rachel was waiting with documentation of every prior incident, medical records, witness statements, and a very clear message: try to make this go away, and we'll hold a press conference on the courthouse steps. The case went to trial 4 months later. Thomas Price was convicted of aggravated assault and witness intimidation, sentenced to 3 years in federal prison, no early release. As they led him away, he screamed at Sophia across the courtroom, "This is your fault. You destroyed Ryan, and now you're destroying me. You're ruining lives." Sophia's voice carried cold and clear. "No, you ruined your own life when you chose violence over accountability. I'm just making sure you face consequences." That night, back at the house in Decatur, 4 bedrooms, fenced yard, Emma's artwork covering the refrigerator, Jack found Sophia on the back porch, staring at nothing. He sat beside her without speaking. Sometimes silence was the only thing that fit. Finally, "I keep thinking about what Thomas said, that I'm ruining lives. You're not. I know. But part of me wonders if I'm doing this for the right reasons, if I'm helping people or just getting revenge on everyone who reminds me of Ryan." Jack turned to face her. "You drove to a bus station on our wedding day to help a stranger. You spent 6 hours in the ER with Amanda when you could have sent staff. You sat with a terrified 9-year-old and read her stories until she fell asleep." His voice was firm. "That's not revenge. That's compassion. But I feel angry. Every time I see a case like Amanda's, I feel this rage that—" "Good. Be angry. Anger at injustice is what drives change." He took her hand. "Sarah used to tell me it's not the anger that defines you, it's what you do with it. You're channeling yours into building something that saves lives. That's not revenge. That's transformation." Sophia leaned into him. "When did you get so wise?" "I married someone who asks hard questions. Had to level up." She laughed despite everything. They sat there as the sun set over Atlanta, watching Emma through the window as she taught their neighbor's kid how to draw butterflies. 2 years after the wedding, Phoenix Rising operated in 12 locations across Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama. Staff of 85. Annual budget of $15 million funded by Sophia's stock sales and a growing network of donors who believed in the mission. Sophia worked 60-hour weeks, but these were hours that filled her instead of draining her. Every woman she helped find safety, every child who smiled again, every survivor who walked into court with her head high, it all mattered in a way corporate profits never had. Jack supported however he could. He installed security systems at every Phoenix Rising location, taught self-defense classes to survivors, and showed up at the office every Friday with lunch for the entire staff. Emma, now 9 years old, volunteered in the children's area, playing with kids whose mothers were meeting with lawyers or therapists or just trying to breathe. One Saturday morning, Emma cornered Sophia in the kitchen. "Mama." "Sophie, I have a question." Sophia had long since stopped correcting the name. It had stuck, felt right, belonged. "What's up, sweetheart? Why don't you and Daddy have a baby?" Sophia nearly dropped her coffee mug. That's a very personal question." "I know, but I want a little brother or sister, and you and Daddy love each other. So why not?" Jack appeared in the doorway, apparently having heard the entire exchange. "Emma, that's not something you ask people." Why not? You always say honesty is important. It is, but some things are private. Emma crossed her arms, stubborn as granite. Fine, but I still want a sibling. She marched off to her room. Jack and Sophia looked at each other. We've never actually talked about it. Sophia's voice was quiet. Having more kids. I didn't want to push. You've got so much going on with Phoenix Rising, and I figured if you wanted to, you'd bring it up. What do you want? Jack sat down across from her. Honestly, I'd love another kid. But only if you want it too. Only if it feels right to you. Sophia thought about it. The idea of pregnancy had always seemed impossible when she was running Hartwell Tech. Too much time off, too much vulnerability, too much risk to her position. But now she had built something that could function without her being present every second. Now she had a partner who would genuinely share the load. Now she had a life that could expand instead of just demanding constant sacrifice. I think I want it too. I'm just scared. Of what? That I'll be terrible at it. That I won't know how to be a mother. I barely had one growing up. Mine died when I was 12, and after that it was just boarding schools and nannies and my father telling me to be perfect. Jack reached across the table. You're already a mother to Emma, and you're amazing at it. That's different. She was 7 when we met. I didn't have to do the baby part. So we'll figure out the baby part together, just like we've figured out everything else. 3 months later, Sophia stood in the bathroom staring at a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines, clear as day. She walked into the living room where Jack was helping Emma with math homework. They both looked up. I'm pregnant! Emma shrieked. Jack's face went through shock, joy, fear, and overwhelming emotion in about 3 seconds. Then he was across the room holding Sophia like she might disappear. You're sure? I took 3 tests, all positive. Emma crashed into them. I'm going to be a big sister. Can we name the baby? Can we paint the nursery? Can we... Slow down. Jack was laughing and crying at the same time. Let's process this for a minute. But Emma was already planning. If it's a girl, we should name her Rose. Or maybe Luna. Or, Phoenix, like the Phoenix Rising. And if it's a boy... Sophia listened to her daughter's excited chatter and felt something she'd been afraid to hope for, the certainty that this was exactly right. That her family was about to grow. That the little life inside her was wanted and would be loved beyond measure. That evening, after Emma had finally exhausted herself with planning and gone to bed, Jack and Sophia sat together on the couch. You're quiet. His thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. Second thoughts. No, just overwhelmed, good overwhelmed. She placed his hand on her still flat stomach. There's a person in there, part you, part me. It's terrifying and miraculous, and I don't know how to process it. We have 9 months to figure it out. What if I'm not good at this? What if I don't have the maternal instinct everyone talks about? Jack pulled her close. You built an organization that's helped 800 women and their kids find safety. You spend your days making sure strangers feel protected and valued. You have more maternal instinct than most people ever develop. You're going to be incredible. You really believe that? I know it. The pregnancy was harder than Sophia expected. Morning sickness that lasted all day. Exhaustion that made even thinking feel like running through mud. She cut back her hours at Phoenix Rising, delegated more learned to trust her staff in ways that felt uncomfortable and necessary. Emma stepped up without being asked. She'd bring Sophia crackers and ginger ale when the nausea hit. She'd rub her feet when they swelled. She'd read aloud from books while Sophia rested on the couch, too tired to move, but comforted by her daughter's voice. Jack was relentless in his support. He took on every household task without complaint, rearranged his work schedule to be home more, attended every doctor's appointment with the kind of focus he'd probably used in combat situations. At the 20-week ultrasound, they found out a boy. Emma was thrilled. Lucas. We should name him Lucas. Why Lucas? Sophia asked. Because it means bringer of light, and he's going to bring light to our family. Sophia and Jack exchanged glances. Lucas, it is. 5 months later at 3 in the morning, Sophia woke to her water breaking. The contractions started 20 minutes after that, hard and fast, and nothing like the gradual progression the books described. Jack got her to the hospital in 15 minutes, breaking at least 4 traffic laws. Emma stayed with Mrs. Chen next door, given strict instructions to keep her phone on. Labor was brutal. 18 hours of pain that Sophia thought might actually kill her, despite what doctors and nurses kept saying about everything being normal. She screamed, she swore, she told Jack this was his fault and she was never doing this again. And then, at 9:47 p.m., Lucas Rivers entered the world. 6 pounds, 4 ounces. Screaming at the top of his lungs like he was furious at being evicted from his comfortable home. They placed him on Sophia's chest. Tiny, wrinkled, perfect. She looked down at this brand-new person and felt something crack open inside her, a fierce, protective love so overwhelming it bordered on pain. "Hi," her voice broke. "Hi, Lucas. I'm your mom." The baby stopped crying, blinked up at her with dark blue eyes. Jack's eyes. Jack leaned over them both, one hand on Sophia's shoulder, one finger grasped in Lucas's impossibly small fist. "He's perfect. He really is." Emma arrived an hour later, still in her pajamas, Mrs. Chen driving her. She tiptoed into the hospital room like she was entering a church. "Can I see him?" Sophia shifted carefully, making room on the bed. Emma climbed up, peered at her baby brother with a mix of awe and uncertainty. "He's so small." "You were this small once?" "Really? Really? Want to hold him?" Emma nodded, solemn as a judge. Sophia helped position her arms, then carefully transferred Lucas into his big sister's embrace. Emma stared down at him with wonder written across her face. "Hi, Lucas. I'm your sister. I'm going to teach you everything important. How to draw, how to ride a bike, how to be brave when you're scared." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "And I promise I'll always protect you." Sophia's eyes filled. Jack had to look away, blinking hard. Later, after Emma had reluctantly gone home and Lucas slept in the bassinet beside the hospital bed, Jack stretched out in the uncomfortable chair and watched his wife and son. "What are you thinking?" Sophia asked. "That 5 years ago I was just surviving, going through the motions, trying to be enough for Emma, and failing most days." He shook his head. "And now look at us. 2 kids, a house full of love, you changing the world one survivor at a time. It's more than I ever thought I'd have. You gave me that too. You know that, right? Before you, I had money and power and absolutely nothing that mattered. Now I have everything. We gave it to each other." Lucas made a small sound in his sleep. They both went quiet, just watching him breathe. "I meant what I said in labor." Sophia's tone was dry. "We're never doing this again." Jack laughed. "Fair enough. 2 kids is perfect." But Sophia was already drifting, exhausted and content. Jack sat there in the dimness of the hospital room, surrounded by his family, and felt something he'd thought was lost forever after Sarah died, complete peace. The first year with a newborn tested every limit Sophia didn't know she had. Lucas didn't sleep longer than 2 hours at a stretch. He cried inconsolably between midnight and 4 a.m. every single night. He spit up on everything Sophia owned and several things that belonged to other people. She was running Phoenix Rising on 4 hours of broken sleep, pumping breast milk in her office between meetings, and trying not to snap at everyone around her from sheer exhaustion. Jack did everything he could. He took the night shift twice a week so she could sleep. He handled most of Emma's school activities. He kept the house from descending into complete chaos. But even with his help, Sophia felt like she was drowning. One particularly brutal night, Lucas had been screaming for 3 hours straight. Nothing helped, and Sophia had to lead a board meeting in 5 hours. She handed the baby to Jack and locked herself in the bathroom. She sat on the tile floor and cried. Huge, gulping sobs that came from somewhere deep and desperate. She was failing. At motherhood, at work, at everything. She couldn't do this. She wasn't built for this. Jack knocked softly. "Can I come in?" She unlocked the door. He sat beside her on the floor, Lucas finally quiet against his shoulder. "I can't do this." The words tore out of her. "I'm a terrible mother. I love him so much it hurts, but I don't know what I'm doing. He won't stop crying and I can't fix it, and I'm so tired I can barely think." "You're not a terrible mother. You're an exhausted mother. There's a difference." "How did you do this alone after Sarah died?" Jack's expression went distant. "Honestly, I barely did. I had help from neighbors, from other Marines who'd been through it, from people at Emma's daycare. I cried a lot. I questioned everything. And some days I just survived until bedtime and called that good enough." He shifted Lucas to his other shoulder. "Being a parent isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up even when you're falling apart. And you're showing up. Every day. That's what matters." "I miss sleep. I miss being able to think clearly. I miss—" She stopped, feeling guilty. "You miss your old life sometimes. That's allowed. It doesn't mean you don't love Lucas." Sophia leaned against him. "When does it get easier?" "Honestly, around 18 months things started to click with Emma. But different kids are different." "That's not encouraging." "No, but it's true." Lucas stirred, made a small sound. Sophia reached for him instinctively, took her son in her arms, and felt the familiar weight of responsibility and love. "We'll figure it out." Her voice was steadier now. "Right. We always do." When Lucas was 14 months old, Phoenix Rising received its largest donation ever, $10 million, from an anonymous donor. The accompanying note was typed brief, "For the women who need second chances," from someone who got one. Sophia tried to trace the source but hit dead ends. The money came through a trust based in Wyoming, shielded by layers of legal protection. Whoever sent it wanted to remain unknown. She used the funds to expand, opened 4 new locations in Florida and North Carolina, hired 20 additional staff members, launched a scholarship program for survivors pursuing education, created a legal defense fund that could take on high-profile cases without worrying about costs. One of those cases landed on her desk 6 months later. A woman named Christina Moore, married to a prominent defense attorney in Birmingham, Alabama. He'd been beating her for 8 years. She'd tried to leave twice. Both times he'd used his legal connections to get temporary custody of their 3 children, then threatened to make it permanent unless she came back. "I can't leave my kids." Christina's voice was hollow with defeat. "He knows that. As long as he has them, he has me." Sophia studied the file. Michael Moore had friends in the Alabama court system. He'd donated heavily to judicial campaigns. He knew exactly how to manipulate the law to his advantage. "What if I told you we could fight him and win?" Christina looked up, hope and disbelief warring on her face. "How he has judges in his pocket. He knows every loophole. He's used to people fighting alone, people without resources." Sophia leaned forward. "But you're not alone. We have attorneys who specialize in exactly this kind of case. We have investigators who can document his abuse. We have safe houses he can't find. And we have something he doesn't expect: the willingness to go public if he tries to bury this." Rachel Torres took the case personally, spent 3 months building an airtight argument, gathering evidence, preparing for every possible legal maneuver Michael Moore might attempt. When they finally went to court, she systematically dismantled every claim he made. The judge, a woman who'd come from outside Birmingham, specifically because the local judges had conflicts of interest, awarded Christina full custody. Michael Moore was granted supervised visitation only pending completion of a batterer's intervention program. As they left the courthouse, Michael Moore grabbed Christina's arm in the parking lot. Before he could say a word, 3 things happened. Rachel stepped between them, a photographer captured the whole interaction, and courthouse security appeared. Moore was arrested for violating the protective order. His law license was suspended pending ethics review, and Christina walked away with her children finally free. That night, Christina called Sophia. "I don't know how to thank you. You saved my life, my children's lives. You saved yourself by being brave enough to ask for help. We just gave you the tools to fight. Still, I'll never forget this. When I'm back on my feet when I can, I want to help other women the way you helped me." 6 months later, Christina Moore became a volunteer advocate for Phoenix Rising. She'd sit with terrified women and tell them, "I was where you are. I thought I'd never get out. But I did. And you will too." Lucas turned 2, Emma turned 11. Phoenix Rising celebrated its 5th anniversary with locations in 8 states and a staff of over 200. Sophia had built something that would outlast her, something that mattered in ways corporate profit margins never could. She still worked long hours, but now they were balanced with soccer games and bedtime stories and family dinners, where Emma explained her latest art project while Lucas threw food and laughed. The chaos was exhausting and beautiful and real. One evening, Jack found Sophia in Lucas's room watching their son sleep. She did this sometimes, just stood there marveling that this person existed, that she'd helped create him, that he was hers to protect and love. "You're doing it again." Jack's voice was gentle, amused. "I can't help it. Look at him. He's perfect. He threw mashed potatoes at you during dinner. Perfect potatoes thrown with perfect aim." Jack wrapped his arms around her from behind. They stood together in the dimness, watching their son's chest rise and fall. "Do you ever regret it?" Sophia asked. "Stopping that night, taking me in, everything that came after." "Not once. Not even when Ryan's lawyers tried to have you arrested, or when CPS investigated you, or when—" "Not once." He turned her to face him. "You want to know what I regret all the years before you? All the time I spent just existing instead of living. You didn't ruin my life, Sophia. You saved it." She kissed him soft and deep and full of 5 years of gratitude and love and partnership. "I love you. I love you too, even when you're being mushy and sentimental." "I'm not mushy. You're literally watching our kid sleep and calling his potato throwing perfect." "Fair point." They stood there a moment longer, then went to check on Emma. Found her reading in bed, flashlight under the covers. "You're supposed to be asleep." Jack's tone was stern, but his eyes smiled. "I just wanted to finish this chapter." "That's what you said an hour ago." Emma grinned, unrepentant. "This book has really long chapters." Sophia sat on the edge of the bed. "What are you reading?" "It's about a girl who saves her kingdom by being smart and brave instead of waiting for a prince." "Sounds like a good story." "It is. The prince is kind of useless, actually. The girl does everything important." Jack laughed. "That's pretty accurate to real life." They kissed Emma goodnight, real goodnight this time, lights off, book confiscated, and retreated to their own room. Collapsed into bed with the particular exhaustion that came from full days and fuller hearts. "We should take a vacation." Jack's voice was muffled by his pillow. "Just the 4 of us. Somewhere with a beach and no responsibilities." "When?" "Next month I can take time off. Devin can handle the security installations. Your staff can manage Phoenix Rising for a week." Sophia considered. The idea of a week without meetings or crisis calls or anything more urgent than building sandcastles felt impossible and necessary in equal measure. "Okay, let's do it." "Where?" "Somewhere Emma can explore, and Lucas can eat sand, and we can actually sleep past 6 a.m. "That sounds like heaven." They took the kids to Gulf Shores, Alabama, rented a small beach house with a porch overlooking the water, spent a week doing absolutely nothing productive. Emma collected shells and built elaborate sand sculptures. Lucas discovered a passionate hatred for ocean water and an equally passionate love for beach sand, which he attempted to eat at every opportunity. Jack taught Emma to body surf. Sophia read 3 novels cover to cover, something she hadn't done in years. One afternoon, while the kids napped and Jack dozed in a beach chair, Sophia walked along the shoreline alone, let the water wash over her feet, watched seabirds dive for fish, felt the sun warm on her shoulders. She thought about the woman she'd been 5 years ago. CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, engaged to a man who saw her as a stepping stone, convinced that success meant money and power and perfect control over everything around her. That woman would have been horrified by her life now. A small house in Decatur, a husband who worked with his hands, 2 kids who made messes and demanded attention and gave love so freely it sometimes hurt to receive it. Work that paid nothing but meant everything. That woman would have called this failure, giving up the empire for domesticity, choosing purpose over profit, building something that helped others instead of enriching herself. But standing there on that beach watching her family sleep in the afternoon sun, Sophia knew the truth. She'd traded everything that didn't matter for everything that did. The biggest test came in year 6. A documentary filmmaker named Sarah Chen approached Phoenix Rising about doing a feature film on domestic violence and economic abuse. She wanted to follow several survivors through their journeys, the fear, the escape, the legal battles, the rebuilding. And she wanted Sophia's story as the anchor. The CEO who'd been betrayed and beaten, who'd found help from a stranger, who'd transformed her pain into a mission. "I don't want to be the face of this." Sophia's immediate reaction was resistance. "This isn't about me. It's about the women we help." "I understand." Sarah's voice was patient, professional. "But your story gives context. It shows that abuse crosses all economic lines, that it can happen to anyone, and your willingness to be vulnerable might help other survivors feel less alone." Sophia discussed it with Jack that night. "Part of me wants to keep that time private. It's ours, yours and mine and Emma's. But another part thinks if telling it helps even one woman leave an abusive situation, then you should tell it." Jack's answer came without hesitation. "I'll support whatever you decide. But I think Sarah's right. Your story matters. You'd be in it too. You and Emma. Our whole life would be public. We've already been in the news. This isn't that different. And if it helps people, I'm okay with it." They agreed. Filming started 3 months later. Sarah Chen was meticulous. She interviewed Sophia for hours about her relationship with Ryan, the discovery of his betrayal, the terror of that night in the rain. She talked to Jack about his decision to stop, about bringing Sophia home, about the threats from Ryan, and the decision to fight back. Emma, now 12, spoke with surprising eloquence about what it meant to share her father with someone who needed help, about learning that family could expand to include people who weren't born into it. They filmed at Phoenix Rising, capturing the daily work of supporting survivors. They interviewed women who'd found safety through the organization: Christina Moore, Amanda Price, dozens of others willing to share their stories. And they got an interview Sophia never expected: Margaret Willis, former interim CEO of Hartwell Tech, now retired. Sophia's father would have been devastated by what Ryan did. Margaret's voice carried weight: history. But he would have been proud beyond measure by what Sophia built in response. She didn't let betrayal make her bitter. She let it make her better. The documentary premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival 18 months later. Sophia, Jack, and Emma attended. Lucas stayed home with Mrs. Chen, too young to sit through a 2-hour film. Watching her life on screen was surreal. There was the night she met Jack, recreated with actors but intercut with their actual interviews. There was footage of Phoenix Rising's work. There were statistics about economic abuse and domestic violence that made the audience gasp. And there was the ending, Sophia speaking directly to camera. "People ask me if I regret what happened, if I wish I'd never discovered Ryan's betrayal, never gone through that trauma." Her filmed self paused, chose words carefully. "The truth is complicated. I hate what Ryan did. I hate that so many women face similar situations or worse. But I can't regret the path that led me here, to this work, to my family, to understanding that the most valuable things in life can't be bought or sold, they can only be given freely." The camera pulled back to show Jack beside her, Emma on her other side, Lucas in her lap. A family that shouldn't exist according to any logical narrative, but did anyway. If you're watching this and you're scared, if you're trapped, if you think there's no way out, please know that you're wrong. There is always a way out. It might be hard, it might be terrifying, but you deserve safety. You deserve respect. You deserve a life where you're valued for who you are, not what you provide. Her voice strengthened, became steel, wrapped in compassion. "And if you don't believe me, if you can't believe in yourself right now, then borrow my certainty. Until you find your own, you are worth saving. You are worth fighting for. And you are not alone. The screen faded to black. Information appeared about Phoenix Rising's hotline and website. Then the lights came up. The audience stood as one. The applause went on for 5 minutes straight. People were crying. Sarah Chen was called to the stage, then insisted Sophia join her. Standing there in front of hundreds of strangers, many of them survivors themselves based on the stories shared during the Q&A that followed, Sophia felt something shift. This wasn't just her story anymore. It belonged to everyone who'd ever needed proof that transformation was possible, that trauma didn't have to be the end of the narrative. The documentary was picked up by a major streaming platform, released 3 months later. Within the first week, Phoenix Rising's hotline received 10,000 calls. Donations flooded in. Women reached out from every state saying the same thing: "I thought I was alone. Now I know I'm not." Ryan Blackwood, serving year 7 of his 23-year sentence in federal prison, saw the documentary, sent a letter through his attorney, venomous and unhinged, threatening to sue for defamation. Rachel Torres responded with a single sentence: "Everything stated in the film is documented, fact admitted as evidence in your criminal trial. Proceed at your own risk." They never heard from him again. Lucas turned 3, started preschool, came home every day with paintings and stories about his best friend Marcus, named after Marcus Cole, who'd become Uncle Marcus to both kids, and an endless stream of questions about how everything worked. Emma entered high school, started talking about college, about studying social work or law so she could help people like her mama Sophie did. She volunteered at Phoenix Rising on weekends, playing with younger kids while their mothers met with advocates. And Sophia found herself in a place she'd never imagined existed. Not perfect, still hard, still filled with struggles and doubts and days when exhaustion won. But fundamentally right. She'd walk into Phoenix Rising and see women finding their strength. She'd come home to chaos and laughter and a husband who still looked at her like she hung the moon. She'd tuck her kids in at night and feel grateful for a life built on connection instead of conquest. One evening 10 years after that rainy night, Sophia and Jack sat on their back porch while the kids played in the yard. Lucas was trying to teach Emma's old stuffed rabbit Daisy to do a somersault. Emma was sketching the sunset, her talent for art having evolved into something remarkable. "Do you remember what I said that first night?" Jack's voice was quiet, reflective. "About not being able to offer you much. Small house, old truck, job that paid the bills." Sophia smiled. "I remember. I was wrong. I had everything to offer. I just didn't know it yet." "What do you mean?" "I could offer you what you actually needed, not a penthouse or designer clothes or corporate power. Just," he gestured at the yard, the kids, the life they'd built. "This. A place to belong. People who see you. Love that doesn't come with conditions or contracts." Sophia leaned into him. "You gave me a chance to start over, to figure out who I was when nobody was watching, when I didn't have to perform or produce or prove anything. You gave me permission to just be. You gave me that too. After Sarah died, I was so locked down. Couldn't feel anything except responsibility and grief. You thawed something in me I thought was frozen forever." They sat in comfortable silence watching their children. Lucas had given up on the somersault and was now having an elaborate conversation with Daisy about space travel. Emma had set down her sketchbook and was taking photos of her brother with an old camera Jack had found at a thrift store. "I love our life." Sophia's voice held wonder, like she was still surprised by the truth of it. "I love the chaos and the noise and the fact that our house is never clean, and Lucas puts his shoes on the wrong feet every single time. I love that you leave coffee cups everywhere and Emma hides books in the weirdest places, and we can never find matching socks." She turned to look at him. 10 years ago, I thought love meant finding someone who completed me. But you didn't complete me. You gave me space to complete myself. And that's so much better." Jack kissed her forehead. "For someone who claimed she wasn't good with words, you sure know how to land a line. I learned from the best, from the—" "Marcus. Obviously." They laughed. Lucas heard them and came running over Daisy, dragging behind him. "Mama, Daddy, watch this." He proceeded to do a cartwheel that was more flail than gymnastics, landed on his bottom in the grass, jumped up with his arms raised like he'd stuck a perfect landing. That was amazing. Sophia's enthusiasm was genuine despite the complete lack of actual cartwheel technique. "I'm going to be in the Olympics." "Absolutely you are." Emma joined them, camera around her neck. "Can we have ice cream? Please, I'll do the dishes." "You'll do the dishes anyway. That's your chore." But Jack was already standing, heading toward the house. "What flavor?" "Chocolate. Vanilla. Coffee," Sophia called. "We don't have coffee ice cream." "Then I guess someone needs to go to the store." Jack looked at his watch. "Store closes in 20 minutes. Better hurry." He grabbed his keys, kissed Sophia quickly. "You're lucky I love you." "I know." He left. Emma went back to her photography. Lucas demanded another audience for his Olympic training. Sophia sat on the porch steps watching it all, this beautiful, ordinary chaos that was her life now. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Ms. Rivers. My name is Jennifer. I saw your documentary. I need help. Please." Sophia typed back. "Where are you right now?" The response came fast. "Public library. Downtown Atlanta. He doesn't know I'm here. Stay there. I'm sending someone to get you. You're safe now." She called the emergency hotline, dispatched an advocate to the library, made sure Jennifer would be taken to a safe house and connected with legal support. Then she sat back down and watched her son do terrible cartwheels while her daughter captured it all on film. Jack would be back soon with ice cream. They'd eat it on the porch while Lucas got more on his face than in his mouth. Emma would tell them about her day in elaborate detail. The evening would drift into bedtime routines and stories and the particular exhaustion of parenting. And tomorrow, Sophia would go to Phoenix Rising and help Jennifer start over, just like Jack had helped her start over a decade ago. The cycle would continue, breaking and rebuilding until more women were safe, more children were protected, more families found their way to wholeness. She thought about the woman she'd been at 34, brilliant and broken and convinced that success meant never needing anyone. That version of Sophia would be horrified by this life, the mess, the lack of prestige, the way her greatest accomplishment wasn't corporate but human. But that version of Sophia had been dying, slowly suffocating under the weight of perfection and isolation. This version, scarred and stretched and stronger than she'd ever been alone, this version was truly alive. Jack's truck pulled back into the driveway. He climbed out with a grocery bag, grinning. "They had coffee ice cream." "You're the best husband in the world." "I know." He settled beside her on the steps, handed her the pint and a spoon. They ate directly from the container while the kids played the sunset and the ordinary magic of their life continued. Sometimes the greatest fortune isn't what you accumulate, Sophia thought. It's what you're willing to let go of to find what actually matters. And sometimes salvation doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from a stranger who stops his truck in the rain and decides that you, broken, bleeding, desperate, are worth saving. She'd spent her whole life building empires. Turned out the only kingdom that mattered was the one she'd built here, a home full of love, a purpose full of meaning, and the freedom to be imperfect and human and enough. "What are you thinking about?" Jack asked. "Everything. Nothing. How much I love this." She gestured broadly at the yard the house him. "How grateful I am that you didn't drive past me that night." "Best decision I ever made." "Mine too. Falling into that road." "You didn't fall. You ran. You saved yourself." "No." Sophia met his eyes. "I survived. You saved me. There's a difference. Then we saved each other." "Yeah." She smiled. "We did." Lucas came racing over, grass-stained and sweaty and grinning. "Can I have ice cream now?" "Sure, buddy. Go wash your hands first." He ran inside, leaving a trail of shoes and socks. Emma followed more sedately, already planning her next photo project. Jack and Sophia sat on the porch a moment longer, savoring the quiet before the chaos of ice cream and bedtime descended. I love you." The words came simultaneously from both of them. They laughed. "Jinx!" Sophia's smile was pure joy. "I'm not playing, Jinx. We're too old for that." "Speak for yourself." Jack stood, pulled her to her feet. "Come on. Let's go feed our children frozen dairy products and pretend we have our lives together." "We do have our lives together." "We really don't. But that's okay." They walked inside, hand in hand, into the noise and mess and beautiful imperfection of the life they'd built from the ashes of who they used to be. And it was enough. More than enough. It was everything.